Hey everyone, and welcome to Previously in the Multiverse. This is a DC Comics podcast from MailFuzz TV. It is a spin-off, a sister show to Comics from the Multiverse, where me, Connor, and Matt talk about DC Comics that come out every week. But obviously Matt's not here. I'm Peter. Connor's sitting over there, just in case you've stumbled onto this one and not ever seen the main show.
It's possible.
But this is going to be us talking about classic DC Comics, DC comic runs that have happened in the past, and we have picked 5 runs, which we're going to kick off with, and will be with us for a while, because, you know, we'll be doing 2 episodes of this per month, as is the plan, barring schedule shenanigans, but we'll be working through these 5 books. So the runs we're going to be doing, that I'll tell you about right now, we're going to do the Detective Comics. We're going to do Batman post-Crisis, and that's going to include Batman and Detective Comics, and anything else that becomes relevant as we go through, meaning that when we get to things like, say, Nightfall, for example, it will start to include some other books that will be relevant to what's going on. How much we include of something like, say, Shadow of the Bat when it just starts, I don't know yet. We'll kind of judge that as we go, but certainly Batman Detective post-Crisis on is kind of what we're doing, which starts with today, Detective Comics 568. Detective Comics 568. So that's the book we're talking about today. And we'll try and keep it simple in terms of like where these issues are available right now. The good thing about Batman is that so much of it's collected that it's actually kind of easy to keep along with most of this. This particular issue and most of the issues coming up from Detective Comics come from Dark Knight Detective Volume 1. Notably, there is a little chunk in the middle that is a separate trade. That's Batman Year 2, so we'll point that out when you get there. But if you wanted to buy just the trades to keep up with this first few months of Batman, that's the detective side of it. The Batman side of it is Batman's Second Chances and Death in the Family. Because again, much like Detective, there's a chunk in the middle of Second Chances that's actually Death in the Family. It's a whole thing.
Yeah. Alternatively, you can do, because I have some of these trades already on Comixology, so I'm just, whatever I've got. Some of these things that we're going to talk about, I didn't have. So what I did is I'm using DC Universe, which has all of them available in the single issues.
DC Universe is available, but that's only available in one place. So for everyone else who has to buy the trades, if you get them off Comixology or you buy physicals, whatever you're doing, we'll try and keep you apprised of what you're going to need sort of in a little bit in advance. So the Batman books, I would say, if you want to follow with the Batman issues, what you need for the next little while is Dark Knight Detective Volume 1, Batman Second Chances, Batman Year 2, and Batman A Death in the Family. That's your first few months of Batman, and then it'll sprawl into more things as it goes on, but that's the first chunk of time. So and it is possible as well, as much as Batman's only getting 1 slot per week right now, it might actually go up when we get to things like Nightfall, just so we get through it in a reasonable time. Otherwise we'll be taking forever for some of that stuff.
It'll be a case of how our schedule's doing, how we're doing with getting all these books done every week or every 2 weeks.
So and then next up we're going to do Wonder Woman from the New 52, which is a shorter run. This is because obviously the Batman run's going to take basically forever. The Wonder Woman run here from Azzarello in Cliff Chiang is about 36 issues, so there's still a couple of years in terms of this show, but shorter comparatively. So we're going to work through that. So that's pretty easy. You just need Wonder Woman Volume 1 from Azzarello, and that's just go from there. Simple enough. Or there's an omnibus as well. Maybe you have the omnibus. And then we're going to do Mark Waid's Flash. Again, really simply to tell you what to get for this if you need to, and that's just The Flash by Mark Waid, Book 1, then Book 2, then Book 3, and Book 4, and so on and so on. So we'll be starting today with the Flash 50th Anniversary Special, which is the first issue in that book. So that's coming up. We're going to do Birds of Prey, starting with the kind of the origin of that with Chuck Dixon's run. We may or may not go straight into Gail Simone's run at the end of that, or we may take a break and do something else. Yeah. But I mean, that's years away anyway before we have to make that choice.
And there's a couple of little bits between them as well.
Yeah, which we might skip. I mean, it just depends.
We'll see, yeah.
It depends. So that kicks off, again, Birds of Prey, Book 1. There's 3 trades of this released, actually, in the last few years. Unfortunately, they seem to stop doing them after Volume 3. Luckily, on Comixology and or DC Universe, all the single issues are available. So we'll be switching to the singles. If Connor's probably already doing the singles, but we'll be switching to the singles after the end of Volume 3. But they are all there and accessible. Now, I did notice, I was looking at future trades. It looks like they're maybe going to do Gil Simone collections, like starting late next year. But
that doesn't surprise me, given we've got a Birds of Prey movie coming early next year or early this year. So
It was a weird one though, because it was like only 6 issues, but the page count was like 300 pages. So I'm just wondering if one of them was oversized, or either that or Amazon's listing is just incorrect, which is entirely possible. It's been happened before, but so. That's a possibility. Anyway, so Birds of Prey is number 4, and then the 5th run that we've selected is JSA by Jeff Johns. Basically, there's always going to be a Jeff Johns slot. We could have easily just had 5 Jeff Johns runs because he's done so many runs at DC, but we're going to space them out one at a time, and we're going to start with JSA. And likewise with some of these other ones, they've been doing these new collections. It's just JSA by Johns, book 1. I think book 3 either just came out or is just about to come out. So
3's already out.
It's already out, so they're working through that. If we do get ahead of the trades, if they're releasing them too slowly or they stop, I don't suspect they will, but if we do, all the singles are available on both Comixology and DC Universe, so again, fairly available. So that's good. There will be at least one more slot, and there could be more in the future. If we find we're getting through this quite easy enough and we're not struggling with this load of extra books on top of our usual show, we might add like a 7th or 8th slot, but there will definitely be a 6th slot starting next month. And basically, this is to give you guys a chance to vote. If you're a patron at the $5 tier or up, you'll be able to vote on what that 6th book is going to be. Now, we have picked a theme for it. They're all Superman books. And one of the other decisions we made is that all the voting books for Patreon will all be short runs. They'll all be either 6, 12, maybe 18 to 20 at a push in terms of issue count. The idea being that there'll be a quick turnaround and you can vote again before too long. You'll get a few votes per year at least, is the idea.
That's the idea, yeah.
So we're going to do 4 Superman books, and I actually have them all written down here so I can tell you what they're going to be. I'm just going to lean over here and very, very gracefully just whip this into shot.
Yes. Incredibly professionally, yeah. But I mean, whatever.
Shut up. All right. So, the 4 Superman books that will be on vote soon on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV is Superman American Alien, Superman Secret Identity, Superman Red Sun, and Superman Emperor Joker. These are all relatively short books in terms of issue count, although a couple of them have longer issues in them, but I mean, we'll just deal with that as it comes. So that's the 4 that are going to be up for vote on patreon.com/BelfastTV. Also worth mentioning that $5 patrons will also get this podcast at least one day early when it comes out every 2 weeks. So
yeah,
there you go. So that's most of the explanation stuff out the way. We'll also just briefly mention that this will alternate with another show called Elsewhere in the Multiverse, where me and Connor talk about Marvel books and maybe some other stuff as well that we're reading. I don't know if that's starting next week though. It might be a little bit more time before that actually starts because I have to catch up on some stuff before I can really talk about what's out. So if there is an episode next week, it'll be kind of a weird concoction of an episode just talking about what I've been catching up on, as opposed to the usual issue by issue discussion. But we'll see how it's going.
It'll be a shambles, is what he's saying.
Yeah. So that's coming too. So without further ado, let's dive into the books for this episode. Episode 1 of Previously in the Multiverse. And for the record, Elsewhere is renumbering to number 1. We're doing a relaunch.
Oh, we're doing a hard reboot, are we?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's mostly Marvel books, and they like to do that all the time. So, in keeping with
I can't argue with that.
So in keeping with the style of the show, what we start with is Detective Comics. Detective Comics 568. Joey Cavalier writing with Klaus Janson on the art. Maybe that's Janson. Maybe it's the soft J. So some of these early Batman issues are going to be just a weird picking mix. Like I have no idea what you expect from some of these, because like this issue here, it's not like this is like part of a big story because I mean we all hear about Year One and Death in the Family, but like.
Yeah, this brands itself as a crossover with Legends, but
I'm not sure how.
Yeah, I mean, I've never read Legends, and I didn't feel like anything was really missing.
Yeah, there was nothing in this that made me feel like I was missing something. It's also supposed to be a follow-up to the previous issue, I think. Or maybe that's Batman. The first issue is meant to be a follow-up to the previous one, but the first one that's post-Crisis is what we're starting with.
Yeah.
So... interesting. So this is a Penguin story. Penguin story. He's got some, cockamamie plan with these birds. He's attacking people.
Classic Penguin is what you're describing here.
I mean, I guess. We start off. Batman and Robin are watching Godfrey.
Yeah, he's talking to a big crowd.
Yeah, he's doing his his whole propaganda speech. There's actually a weird line from Batman here. I feel there's a line from Batman in this first couple of pages that I would never expect Batman to actually say now, where he says that he's all of the work that he's doing is working towards a world where he doesn't have to be Batman anymore. But the way he says it just feels very un-Batman-like by today's standards. I felt. Because Robin's all like, wait, what? But you, this is what you do. This is you. It's like, yes, but it's all a means to an end, kind of thing. Yeah, in a way, it actually makes me think of Christopher Nolan's Batman more than it does comic book Batman.
I can see that. Yeah. The idea is finish the mission and then retire.
Yeah. Whereas comic book Batman, like, that's been a long time since we've been thinking, oh, maybe he's working towards retirement.
It's kind of interesting that there's been kind of the idea of that knocking around. Obviously, we're talking about it here in whatever year this is, early 80s, I assume.
86.
Okay, 86.
Maybe 87.
All right, later 80s. But we have obviously all the stuff to do with that post Nightfall when we get there, and even the stuff in King's latest run. That's kind of been a theme. Is can Batman retire?
Yeah, the thing with King's run though is that it's very much been, okay, here's the possibility of maybe he can be happy after decades of never thinking he could be.
Yeah.
Whereas this is him as prime Batman. But by the way, what Robin is this?
I'm pretty sure it's Jason, right?
Yeah, because, I mean, I think we're a bit too late for this to be Dick. And, because I was waiting for him to call him Jason at some point just to confirm it. But I was like, has he actually got Jason yet? Did that happen already?
I'm pretty sure he does.
Okay.
I'm fairly confident this is Jason.
It's probably Jason. It makes more sense that it's Jason.
Yeah.
Maybe because I know we're going to be getting kind of because this is in Detective, and I know Batman, I think, is the one that's going to introduce Jason. I wonder if it's just a weird timey thing like this, where like he just popped up in Detective already, even though he hadn't really been properly introduced yet in Batman.
Yeah, although maybe that's already happened, like in the last year or so before this.
Maybe. I thought we were going to get that though in the Batman issues, but I mean we'll find out, I suppose, in the next coming weeks. But
yeah, that's true.
But hey ho. So yeah, there's what bird was it? Falcon. There's a Falcon swoops in, and Batman has to jump in and save the day. There's some action, some I think it was interesting. Obviously, we've got very different art from what we were used to talking about in the modern books.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of plain backgrounds. Definitely a lot simpler. But that's not to say bad per se. There's always...
And I wonder, because it says Klaus Janson, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, is this the same Klaus Janson who we looked at pretty recently? I'm pretty sure that was the artist on the not Murphy issue of White Knight.
Was that him?
That was a Klaus Janson. I'm not sure. I mean, how many are there that are comic book artists? I don't know, but.
It's a good chat, because what was I looking at recently? I don't know, it was books from like the late 80s, and I noticed one of the artists was Aaron Lopresti, and I'm like, oh hey, he's been popping up recently. I assumed he was like a young guy because I hadn't seen his name before, but no, he was doing issues in the 80s, so clearly he's been at it a while.
Yeah.
So anyway, they save the day. Penguin's livid. He's got his box with I think floppy disks because of the computer codes in them.
Probably.
I love reading stories from the 80s and 90s about computers, because there's like you get this impression that the writers don't really know about computers all that much, whereas nowadays, because all writers write on computers pretty much, like they have a basic understanding of computers.
Pretty much. It's kind of just a given these days, whereas back here you got the big giant cassette machine tape, for all the tapes and stuff, and yeah, it's something else, isn't it?
Yeah, they've kidnapped this scientist dude, and they throw eggs at him at one point. He's got yolk all down his face. That's what he's touching there, I thought.
Yeah,
but
good.
Batman shows up to save the day, of course, and stop Penguin's plan. Penguin holds the guy hostage with his his umbrella with the blade, and they get away. They actually get away from Batman. He's able to back out the door with the guy as a hostage, and skedaddle.
It works.
Yeah, so we're back at the cave. I did notice the dinosaur in the cave looked really different to what I'm used to the dinosaur looking like. I almost wonder if there wasn't like a set, like this is definitely the sort of T-Rex we're drawing here.
It's recognizably a T-Rex.
He's looking a bit fat though for a T-Rex.
He is looking a bit fat. I'll give you that.
He's looking a bit chubby.
I'm not going to argue it's a bit of an overweight T-Rex, but clearly a T-Rex.
Yeah. So yeah, Penguin's doing all sorts of shenanigans. He's trying to hold the city hostage. Usual sort of shtick. We get a whole. I mean, this is kind of inspired. I like that. Like the building has a lot of scaffolding, so we get like a whole lot of stuff with Batman and the Falcons and the scaffolding. It gives it a nice bit of a set piece moment.
It's really inventive, and the way you go in and out of the scaffolding. It's not just there and we're on top of it. It's actually utilized.
Yeah, and the doctor that they've kidnapped actually kind of saves the day a little bit by using a sound to like drive the Falcons, towards him and Penguin. So it actually kind of helps Batman and Robin a little bit. So we get a little bit of hijinks, a little bit of comedy. Like I couldn't help but laugh at the panel of Penguin running from the Falcons. He's holding his hat on his head, and it's a very cartoony run. It's a very villain skedaddling at the end of an old timey cartoon. It's kind of the vibe I got from it.
It is really what Penguin was for decades. Is this?
Yeah. So no, good enough stuff. He has to come out and save Penguin, of course, at the end. And that's it. Penguin's been netted. He's grabbed. He's dragged back home, and that's basically it. So
it's a little bit more Godfrey, which I assume this is the stuff that's tying into Legends.
I imagine so. That makes sense. It didn't really feel that forceful in here, though.
No, it didn't. It doesn't feel egregious by any means, because obviously we managed just fine. But I can only assume that's what's tying in, not any of the Penguin stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's not a bad issue.
Yeah. It's a fun enough issue. I thought it was easy enough to get through, and the action flowed quite well, which is probably where the art really excels. The final kind of beats just talk about, is Godfrey right about the common man and how superheroes shouldn't exist? Because he's like, the superheroes are an affront to the common man, an insult to the talents and capabilities of the common man to cope with the world as he finds it. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. It's kind of, we end off with Bruce kind of pondering these words as he looks out the window, and that's your first post-crisis Batman issue. Detective Comics 568.
I actually really like that final panel with the colors, with the orange and red glows in the room around Bruce.
Yeah, I can see it. It's contrasted with the green on the outside.
Yeah.
Of the window, so it really makes it stick out as being the warm inside. Maybe even emphasizing his wealth a little bit, like he's in a nice big warm mansion.
Yeah, I can see that. And the idea of talking about the common man, this just separates him even further.
Yeah, he ain't the common man.
No, like even if he's not Batman, he's not the common man.
He's not a common billionaire either, admittedly, but he's not the common man.
No, by
any means. So, no, I thought it was fine. I mean, I guess we do rate these. We'll do it like we do on the main show.
Yeah.
I'd give this a solid 7.
I think I'm gonna go with a 6.5. But I mean, yeah, it's solid enough.
There you go. That'll take us on to Wonder Woman issue 1. This is the 2011 series, the start of the New 52. Mary will be surprised that we picked something from New 52. It was mostly just about the length of the run, more than anything else. We wanted a lady book, a leading lady, because we wanted to try and distribute the books kind of evenly amongst various things, and we didn't want another run that was going to take like 5 years to do. So we settled on one that would take a year and a half,
maybe.
24 in a year, so a year and a half. I was right.
Yeah, I
nailed it. So
sure you did.
I nailed it. So so this is Brian Azzarello writing with Cliff Chiang on the art. So obviously this is kind of interesting, jumping wildly from era to era here, because this was obviously propelling us into modern comics, and I wouldn't say comic telling or comic storytelling has changed that much since 2011. It's pretty much the same. We start off on the top of a building. We have 3 ladies in dresses being impressed at this penthouse, and a mysterious figure who's clearly not human kind of schmoozing
Yeah,
them.
it doesn't even try to hide that. It's just who exactly is he. There's hints even in his first line of dialogue, but there's more later that kind of gives you his identity.
Yeah, he talks about his father, who we find out later is Zeus, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. And he kind of turns these three ladies into his prophets. Is basically his thing. We don't actually get to see the result of that until later in the book. It's not until the ending kind of narration comes in that we actually get to see what they're going to say. But because you're thinking, is he just going to push them over the edge? Is he just here to kill them, kind of thing?
There's way more to it than that.
Yeah, but then we're introduced to sort of the main part of the book, which is this mysterious figure comes into a barn, beheads a couple of horses with a sickle, and then this is actually a really gory
I think technically
page.
it's more of a scythe than a sickle, but
Scythe, sickle.
sickles are like the round hook one.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, semantics.
I thought they were interchangeable, to be honest. I didn't realise there was a difference.
No, sickle's it's like the short handle and then like the really rounded blade.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so the long handle is
With the straighter blade in comparison is
in comparison, it's still round.
it's rounded, yeah, but it's not like a sickle is like a complete semicircle.
So we got a really gory page actually of like a head and hands kind of like coming out the stump, the neck stump of the horses. And I think in this page you may be thinking it's just going to be like these evil people who come out of the horses. It's actually not. They kind of like also grow into the horses and
they become centaurs.
They become centaurs, yeah. And if I have any complaint about this issue, it's actually when we cut into the house. I thought it was a little bit jarring that who we later find out is Hermes is just kind of here, and Zola, who's the main the woman who lives here, has got a shotgun to his face. I felt a little bit like, I don't know, because I get what it's doing here, where okay, we're just cutting in and there's already like something going on where okay, she's like, okay, why are you in my house? Get out, or I'm going to shoot you. It felt a bit jarring to me when I cut to this scene.
I can see that. It is a bit sudden because you go into this. Okay, it's a Wonder Woman book. We're on page God knows what at this point, like 6 or 7. We're about a third through the issue and still not even a sight of Wonder Woman yet, or even a hint of it.
Do you know what I think it is? I think it's the way he turns around and says, "Zola, we must leave now." It sounds like he's already supposed to be there and he knows who he's talking to. And then everything after that kind of says, no, it's not that case at all. I almost feel like all you'd have to do for this jarring feeling I have of this feeling a bit weird would just be like have her react to him first and then have him say that line. And it'd probably feel fine.
Yeah. Just so like, who are you? What are you doing here? Or something first.
Because then when he says that like he knows her already, it would come off in the right way of being like that's the kind of the point, is that she doesn't know him, but he's speaking like he does. But because he says that line first before she gets to react, I kind of take that as my first impression of the scene. So instead of knowing that it's wrong, I'm like, oh wait, okay, okay.
And then you learn that it's wrong, and it's like, that was a bit weird. No, yeah. I'm with you on that actually.
So that's my one real complaint. So she screams at him to get out. Unfortunately, Hermes gets arrowed, and then the centaurs come running in. Looking particularly demonic.
I love the designs of these things.
Zola is obviously shitting herself. Hermes throws her a key. The key makes a teleport to London into Wonder Woman's apartment, and she wakes Wonder Woman up. Wonder Woman like grabs her by the neck, like, "What are you doing here?" This is definitely an angrier Wonder Woman than.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I think she's caught off guard here as well. It's like, okay, someone's creeping into my apartment that probably not a good sign usually. Some warrior instincts might kick in.
Yeah. So do you know what the first thing is it's been long enough for the New 52 that I'd forgotten what her outfit looked like. So
yeah, me too actually.
So there's a build up of her going to her closet, and she's like, okay, I recognize that key, we're going to do this stuff, I'll help you, let's find out what's going on. And Zola realizes, oh, you're Wonder Woman. And when I saw the page of her in her outfit, I went, oh yeah, this is the outfit.
I don't hate it that much. It's fine. I don't love it, but it's fine.
I must. Do you know what? It's mediocre. It's not terrible, but like it's one of those things where it just reminds me of the whole New 52.
I think it's I think it's only really bad because of the context around it of okay, you know what this is. I think if this was a design and just the next Wonder Woman story that's not Orlando, let's pretend it was someone good. But the next story and this is the outfit and that's the first time you ever see it. I don't think it's a bad design. I don't think you'd mind.
Yeah, but I can't not see that and not see that lineup that Jim Lee drew of all of them
Yeah, no, that's a
together.
very fair complaint.
It gives me nightmares of a dark time. Dark time. Zola actually goes to trick Wonder Woman because she's going to give her the key, but then sort of grabs her hand and activates it. Yeah, and they teleport back to the farm. And Wonder Woman gives her a little remark about it, but ultimately, okay, we're here now. Let's see what's going on. And we get Wonder Woman diving into action. She does the whole crossing the arms to block an arrow. So really, it's probably the best art moment of the issue potentially.
And that's saying something when it's a really strong issue for art.
Oh yeah, no, it is. The art is pretty solid throughout. Obviously the gory stuff I like, but this is kind of your big moment of the it's a classic
action,
it's a classic Wonder Woman moment. This is the equivalent of the page in a Superman issue 1 where he rips open the shirt for the first time. Like this is kind of that moment.
Definitely.
So we get a bit of action. The centaurs kind of run around and chase Zola. Wonder Woman has to intervene.
Yeah, she takes one of the swords.
Yeah, throws it at one of the other ones, cuts off an arm. Not a bit of gore. I do appreciate the gore.
And then she lassos Zola to bring her back.
Yeah, so but this is when we find out it's Hermes because Diana recognizes him and is like, Hermes, what are you doing? And talks about how Zeus has a child who's on Earth. It's not a big stretch to realize that this is probably the dude that we're looking at in the first scene.
Yep.
And that we find out that this Zola is pregnant by Zeus. This is a new sibling for this character.
Yeah. And she's like, shit.
Yeah. Because clearly she's like, okay, yeah, I did have sex. I didn't realize I'd had sex with Zeus.
That is classic Zeus, though. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. So that's when we finally come back to the this other son. I mean, do we actually know the name of this character?
Yeah, we do. This is Apollo.
Okay, cool.
There's a big hint. He bursts into flame in a minute. He becomes like the sun because Apollo is the sun god. One of the biggest hints is actually really early on in his first line, where it says, "I'm the son of a king." He says "son" as in S-U-N.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. And I assumed it was intentional and not a mistake.
Yeah.
But I don't know these myths enough to get why. But cool, so it's Apollo. And he actually burns, after the three women give the information that he needs, he burns them. We see their bones and flames falling to the street below.
Yeah, and then basically the prophecy is one of your father's children will murder another and take their place.
So he's worried it's him. Yeah, and he's worried it's him, of course. So and that's actually the end of the issue, is the flaming bones falling to the street below. It's a pretty solid first issue. Like I say, I had that one nitpick of the jarring transition. I think everything is so. I think honestly, my biggest thing about this issue is that I'm so used to Diana being more approachable and kind in this that she feels a bit mean almost, even though she actually does help her and she does all the right things. She feels like she's more, how do I put this? She's more of like an 80s action movie, like disgruntled hero in this, as opposed to.
I get what you're saying. I actually think it's only just because of that first interaction where she's startled in her own bed. After that, I think she's actually really quite, approachable. Like, when Zola activates the key and takes them back, and she's like, "Oh, that was stupid." And Zola's like, "Yeah, sorry." She goes, "No, I meant stupid of me to fall for this."
Yeah,
but she's not ever like blaming her for the situation.
Yeah, but even that line, it feels a bit more like, even though she's mad at herself, it feels a bit more. There's more bite to it than she normally would be of herself. It's less graceful, I guess, is what I'm saying.
I get that. Yeah.
So she's got more of an attitude, not only to others but herself. It's her personality is just a little bit different. And I will say, I don't necessarily think I like this personality compared to the traditional Wonder Woman, or the runs that I've enjoyed of Wonder Woman. So it has that kind of going against it, but the issue itself is pretty solid, and I do like the gory stuff. So
Yeah, I'm a big fan. We're introducing all this Greek mythology stuff. These really intriguing designs for the gods because they're completely different to anything else. And I think the art's fantastic. I think Matt Wilson's colors really complement the book a lot. Like at the end with the sunrise, for example, or all the stuff in the barn with the horses. I think the colors are really selling these moments for me. Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of this as a first issue. But I agree with that first moment between Hermes and Zola plays a little strange.
Yeah. All right, what are you giving it?
I'm going to give it 8.5.
I will give it the straight 8. So, yeah, 10 from me. That will take us on to the Flash 50th Anniversary Special, number 1, I guess. I don't know if I actually said number 1 at the end, but...
It does, yeah.
Usually they do. Usually they do. So this, unfortunately, is an 80-page book, which I don't think we realised before we agreed to do this.
No.
Ultimately, we just have to take these as they come. Sometimes there's going to be oversized books, and we just have to deal with that. But 80 pages is a lot. 80 pages is like a lot. So I won't tell you the creators just now because it's different per story. So Mark Waid does the wraparound in this, which is why it's part of the start of his kind of like collection, his run.
Yeah, and there's definitely something that it feels like it's seeding for that.
Yeah.
But his is actually like one of the smaller parts of the book overall.
Well, it feels that way at first because it's only a couple of pages at the start, but the actual last chunk of it is almost the same length as the other chunks.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Because
my memory playing tricks on me.
Because the other stories are about 15, 16 pages each. Because there's basically the way this story structures, there's a couple of pages at the start of this character, this John
Fox.
Going to the past. He's in the future. This is kind of in the future. Central City's been decimated.
It's in 2645.
Oh, there you go. The exact date. And he's coming back in time. He's going to try and recruit the Flashes. So he tries to go back to recruit Jay Garrick, but each time he goes back, he's only got like an hour in each time period. So he tries to get Jay Garrick, so we get like a 15 or so page Jay Garrick story with this John Fox trying to get to him. Although that's kind of a small part of it. He just kind of pops in once or twice to try and talk to him. And then the same thing happens, 15 or so pages of Barry, and then 15 or so pages of Wally. So it's kind of a neat idea of like giving each of the three main key Flashes like a story in this 50th anniversary special. So Wally is, of course, the Flash, post-Crisis. This isn't starting like Batman, like where we're starting right after Crisis. This is starting a bit later. This is I think around 1990, I want to say. But so we're a little bit later on the timeline. What I did not expect in this issue, actually, and something that I didn't really know about from this early Wally West stuff, is that everyone knows who he is, and that obviously changes after a certain point.
Yeah.
But right now, his identity is public knowledge.
Yeah, he's not necessarily got the same personality that we would think of as Wally West right now. He hasn't been kind of forged into that yet. I
feel like Mark Waid's the one who's going to do that.
You think?
Yeah, over the course of the run. I feel like that's what's going to happen. So they send this dude back because there's this villain, Mota, who's going to span all these years and eventually cause this apocalyptic event that's happening. So that's what they're trying to stop. Simple time travel stuff. So we go back to Jay Garrick, and I have to say I really like the art and the Jay Garrick section.
Yeah, me too. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, again, a lot of swishing around, him running in to speak to the, is it the mayor he goes to speak to at the start?
Yeah, it's the president, isn't it? Something? No, it's kind of the president. It's not the mayor. It's bigger than the mayor. He's like head of like CIA or something like
that. Okay.
I'm sure it is because he comes across the country for sure.
Yeah. And this guy wants Jay to investigate these scientists because they might, because he's going on a whole rant about the commies, like the commies, like because this is post World War II timeline wise in terms of where it's set. And he gives him a list of names. Some of these scientists might be working with the commies. And interestingly, Jay Garrick's one of those names. He's like, wait, that's my name. What? What's happening? And he also recognizes one of the other ones as a friend. And we also notice as the readers the name Manfred Mota. We see that name Mota on there.
And he does tell us a little bit about him. It was an army site case. So he's on the list, it was like, okay, it's teasing this. So it does make it feel a little bit more connected to the overall issue than just here's a random Jay Garrick story.
Oh, sure. I mean, all the stories do connect to the villain, even if the time traveler doesn't feature that much.
Yeah, but even like really early on in this, where before we even got a hint of what the villain is for this, the way he's on that list, he's part of this investigation.
Yeah, so that's just kind of a seedy government guy, and Jay doesn't want to be anyone's personal spy. That's not how this is. Amusingly, he asks his assistant to follow the Flash, and he's like,
and he's like, how?
Yeah, how? Like, how am I supposed to keep up with him? So Jay helps a couple who get trapped at a railroad crossing. Speeds the car out, and we actually see how this fits into Jay's life in the sense that Mota is buying some stolen parts, basically, from the janitor who works at Jay Garrick's lab. Which is notable because when Jay comes in and he gets his shirt and tie on and he talks to the janitor, and the janitor's like, "Oh, I didn't know you were going to be here. So lucky that criminal meeting that I just had ended in time."
Real convenient.
But he walks out. He has a wad of cash sticking out of his back pocket, which looks suspicious and becomes a major plot point here because I did note down as well that Jay says to himself, "Oh, maybe we're paying the help too much if he's walking around with that cash."
I mean, it's one of those where I get what he's saying, but kind of shitty because if you could afford to be paying them that and not even notice, then maybe you're not paying them too much. Yeah,
maybe you should be paying them more. But he actually notices there's some radioactive.
It's glowing, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to test this because that doesn't seem right."
Yes. So when he confronts the janitor about it, the janitor pulls a gun, and he's like, "Stick it, boss man." But obviously, Jay speeds around and does his Flash stuff to get away. So he goes to speak to a friend that was on the list after turning this guy into the police, not knowing what he did really, ultimately. And he goes to speak to this old friend and says, "Hey, you were accused of being a commie spy. What do you think about that?" And he explains that, we've all been under surveillance ever since, I left the Manhattan Project, and he's a pacifist, and yada, yada, yada. And this is when Mota comes out the bank across the street with bags of cash.
Yeah, and Jay has to run across and stop him. And he's using the name Atom Smasher as well at this point.
He is, yes. Not to be confused with Atom Smasher we're going to talk about in GSA later.
Yeah.
And he gets a bit of a fight, and Jay gets beat. Atom Smasher is able to use his powers to defeat Jay with rocks and stuff.
He gives him a clobbering on the head.
Yeah, so Jay wakes up and his buddies sort of nursed him back to health and kind of explains what's going on. Also explains that, hey, if you couldn't get work, I could, hire you. He's like, I don't want charity. Plus, the government would just be all over you because they're sort of, constantly watching me and scrutinizing everything I do or interact with. Yeah. But Jay goes back out to deal with Mota and is able to. And it's right around this time we see the time traveler in a trench coat. I need to get close to him and talk to him. And just as Jay saves the day, or I should say the scientist saves the day. Really, he sneaks up behind.
He unplugs the power pack.
Yeah, he sneaks up behind and disconnects his backpack thing that's giving him his powers. But unfortunately, time traveler, his time's up, and we just see the trench coat just fall to the ground.
Yeah,
and it's gone. Yep, and that's kind of it. And that's basically it. So there you go. And then
they arrest Mota.
Yeah, they do. I actually kind of glossed over who did that one. The credits page must have been at the start, and I didn't notice.
It was the second or third page in.
Yeah. I'll go back later. That's too much effort digitally to go back now. But we do have to mention the creative team for the second story. It's a bit unfortunate, this one, because the writer's Jared Jones, who was just put in prison for possessing lots of child pornography. So, bit awkward when I noticed that name.
Yeah.
And then having to read this. There's an entire section of Green Lantern that is now kind of not unreadable, but it's there. There's basically all the Emerald Dawn stuff and the early Hal Jordan stuff from the 90s is just kind of all under him. And it makes because they were releasing trades of it, and they stopped after volume 1 because that's when all this stuff came out.
pretty understandably.
Yeah, so really, really awkward. The artist, though, is Carmine Infantino. So
Yeah, a classic.
So, yeah, and now, Atom Smasher has become... Has he changed his name yet, or is that the third story he changes his name?
I think he's Atom Master now, right?
Atom Master, okay. Because in the third story, he's like Captain Fallout or something like that.
Yeah. Professor Fallout.
Professor Fallout, there you go. So Barry is testing his treadmill, and he's like, shit, I've run out of time, my clock stopped. I need to go and see Iris for a date. As Mota, we see it in prison over the last 20, 30 years. He's been prepping his big comeback. He's been dastardly scheming. He has everything ready.
And he's just still furious at the Flash.
Yes, so he's like, oh, the Flash has got a better costume than the last 20, 30 years.
He doesn't realise it's different people. He's like, oh, he disappeared only to resurface with a new costume.
So Iris is mad at Barry for being late, of course. Barry's got this weird thing now because of whatever he's doing in the lab. He's all magnetic, so all the cutlery's sticking to him. And he's like, let me go to the bathroom and shake off this magnetism.
Yeah. A lot of digs from her, but yeah, sure. Real magnetic you.
Yes. Unfortunately, though, he runs back to the lab because he can do it back to the lab. He's like, oh, I'm the Flash, no biggie. But on the way back, a crisis clearly is arising. Mota's got this big atom device in the middle of the city, and it's a giant neutron bomb, and he's going to blow up the city if all the banks in the city don't give him their money within an hour. And we have the time traveler, John Fox, in the crowd as well, looking on. So, again, Barry tries to fight Mota, and he fails. He loses.
Yeah, he's got some gadget to shoot him with.
Yeah, and the city's like, oh, we have to pay them. In fact, there's a really funny line here, actually. One of the banks says, I hope our federal bank insurance covers this. I've got a feeling it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's saying ransom demands of an absolute nut job. I don't think so. So basically, Mota actually kidnaps Barry and has him in this kind of atom device that keeps him captive. But Barry eventually realizes that if he vibrates in just the right way, classic Flash stuff, he'll get out.
Hey, if it works, it works.
I noticed there was a lot of pink backgrounds in this part of the story.
Yeah, I think it was because it was the atom device was pink, so I think it was meant to be the impression that was giving off all this.
Okay, all right. Barry, there's actually a really funny panel at one point where Barry's kind of raiding one of the atom electrons.
Yeah,
if you're unfamiliar with an atom, you have the neutron, but then you have the electrons going around it in a circle, so that's why you get that circular kind of design. He's actually raiding it think of like Saturn, as if he's raiding the ring of Saturn.
Yeah, because that's kind of his plan of how to escape is if he goes with it and rides around and around, he can build up enough speed to then kind of just break out. In
fact, my biggest critique of this middle story with Barry is that there's actually too much science jargon which they felt the need to try and explain in caption boxes, and I'm like,
you have to explain positrons and
in fact, the one that actually made me laugh the first time I read this, and I laughed again when I read it this time, it's when he's fighting, he runs back out obviously and goes to fight Mota. Editor's note, a synchrotron, I had to
synchrocyclotron. Yeah,
synchrocyclotron. I had to look at that 3 times to read it properly because there's so many goddamn syllables. It's a particle accelerator which isolates protons through a frequency matching angular velocity of the particles. Yeah, that doesn't explain anything to me. That's still all just mumbo jumbo jargon.
It's weird because I appreciate the effort to educate.
But this is aimed at someone who's already done 2 years in university for physics and chemistry.
Yeah, pretty much. Just have the mumbo jumbo word and pretend we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'll dumb it down a little bit.
Yeah.
For the rest of the simpletons, thank you very much. Anyway, so he beats Mota, and basically, the time traveler John Fox gets closer. He's like, "Hey, Flash, the future of the Earth depends on me telling you this." And he turns around, and there's just a trench coat lying there. He just ran out of time. And amusingly, Barry just thinks to himself, "Well, if it's something important, it'll happen. Someone will mention it again."
That's like, when you miss a phone call and they don't leave you a voicemail, and you go, well, if it's important, they'll ring again.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Little does he know that this guy can't just ring again. So So Barry goes back to his date, and Iris actually, he's not in trouble because Iris ran off to report on the things that were happening and apologizes to him for being missing for, you know, an hour. And he's like, "Oh, that's okay. I forgive you. I'll leave you waiting long enough."
Yeah.
So off they go. Happy times. And that takes us to the Wally story, where he owes money for a shoe deal.
He was rich before.
He ordered a lot of shoes, and now he can't afford to pay for the shoes. But this crazy woman runs in, and it says, "Hey, you know, I know you're the Flash. You have to help me. It turns out she's been dating Mota while he's been in prison. And so the timeline of this weirds me out a little bit. So Mota, by this point, given that he was, let's say, in his early 20s when he was fighting Jay, right?
Sure.
Right. You know, this is like 1990, say, so it's been 45 years, maybe. He's like 65.
It depends when the 45 is maybe a bit of a stretch for when the first one was set.
Oh, it's post World War II. Okay, so let's say even 1950. Let's say 1950.
Yeah. And we don't know how immediately after it was as well, so it could have been a bit of time.
But yeah, so it's about 40 years. It's about 40 years, right? So, and this woman comes in, and the reason why I'm even noting this, okay, fine, like maybe this woman's just older than she looks, she likes older men, whatever. But she says that she offers to bribe Wally with her body as payment for helping her stop what he's doing. That caught me off guard. I was not expecting her to be like, "I will bribe you with my body, Flash."
Yeah, she doesn't look that young, to be fair.
She doesn't look that young. She was middle aged.
Yeah.
But you know, like
she's probably like in her mid-40s, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, Mota's older than that. He's definitely older than that.
I would suspect so. Yes.
There's no way he's not. So anyway, Wally's like, okay, tell us what's going on. And Mota, now going by Professor's Fallout, is like, you know, launching his dastardly plan. He's built a suit. It's almost like a Mr. Freeze style suit, but it's for, you know, radiation and Fallout shenanigans. We see him blast one of his henchmen when he first tests it in the flashback. So here's the thing, a little bit of humour here is that John Fox actually gets here early, and he comes to the apartment and he's like, okay, I'm going to talk to us, this is my last chance, I can get Wally West. And Wally runs past them and says, hey, you hear about the shoes, I'll talk to you later. It just speeds off. He thinks he's about the shoes.
Like, shoes? What the hell?
Yep. So, and of course, like before, Wally gets beat.
I like how Fox gets himself a trench coat every time he gets here, because he doesn't take that with him, because we've seen it left behind.
He's somehow finding the same trench coat every time he travels through time, you're right. Dear. So
he wastes however long of his hour making sure he has a trench coat and a hat.
So Wally gets beat, but so he runs away to try and figure out what to do, and he goes to a scientist at a power plant, and basically there's kind of a theme here in this story that because nuclear power is like kind of scary, she like covered up a theft of something because she doesn't want the public perception of nuclear power to be again sort of tarnished.
Yeah.
But he goes to this scientist who works in a bar. I got real Cheers vibes from this. This felt like the you know, from the first few seasons of Cheers, the coach who worked behind the bar. It looks like him, and he's in a bar, so it you know.
So it works.
Yeah. But he explains what's going on, or to, like, you know, how
more science mumbo jumbo.
More science mumbo jumbo, yeah. So Wally takes him with him, and they do some sciencey stuff in the fight to stop Mota, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
Not much to really say beyond science mumbo jumbo, and of course John Fox once again disappears just before he can actually say to Wally what's actually happening, which gets us to the final story, which is back in the future. Mota has become a radioactive looking version of Tar Pit, essentially. He's big and monstrous. He's not a human anymore. Things have gone far too far. John Fox comes back, and it's actually quite dark. He comes back, and like Mota's actually killed like most of the people that were in the control room with him. Like all those people who sent him back are actually dead. which is pretty sinister. But they run to the Flash Museum. This is after John Fox ends up with super speed.
Yeah, which he got from the traveling, right?
Yeah. So he runs to the Flash Museum and builds himself his own speedster suit, which is sort of blue with like a sort of red kind of. Think the Green Power Ranger. It's like blue, but with the shield is red.
Yeah, and then he has the Flash symbol on it because he's like, well, I might as well be the Flash.
Yeah, because this generation needs a Flash. So it was funny. Obviously, like going forward, we're going to end up with like Dawn and Dawn, and we're going to hear all these, Bart and all these different versions of Flashes in the future. But at least for now, we've got this John Fox as a Flash in the future, and he speeds around. The museum gets trashed. Some nice stuff here actually is as he's like defeating them. There's like a mother and child hiding behind a statue of Jay, which I thought was a nice little touch.
Yeah, that was real nice.
But he uses the treadmill to whip up his speed, and the coloring goes all weird here as they're kind of in like a
kind of hyper time.
Yeah. Everything goes sort of like pale pastel colors.
And you see all these different time periods around them.
Yeah, and basically Mota gets launched into a star or planet in space is basically what happens. And it kind of ends with John looking up at the statues of the three Flashes and kind of saying, "We beat you. It wasn't just me. It was, all of us. It was the Flash." And the issue ends with a Flash Day celebration in the future as they celebrate, everything that all the Flashes have done. Yeah, and there's a statue of him now as well. And then the back of the issue's got some profile Flash facts of the various Flashes, which I did not read for this purpose of this, I must admit, because
I skimmed them.
It'd already been 80 pages by this point. So, no. Honestly, all things considered, obviously it's a bit long-winded, and whatever else, and it's not really a true representation of Mark Waid's run yet, because it's not really a Mark Waid issue beyond just him doing the future story.
No.
But as a special goes, it's actually quite enjoyable. I think I actually like this more than some of the 80-page specials we get now, where it's just all a bunch of random stories. This was kind of nice that it all had like a through line that had like kind of a message at the end of no, all these Flashes have inspired a new Flash in the future.
Do you know what it is? It felt like it had an editor.
Yeah.
That went, hey, look, this is where the other story's going to leave off. You need to take this villain, get him to this point by the end, and do whatever you want in the meantime, right? And it was divvied up like that, and like, hey, you're doing a J story, introduce this villain, whatever else you want to do around it is fine.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of feels like that, and as opposed to what we get now of just do what you want for 10 pages.
Yep. So, yeah. And the art was generally solid. Again, very of its time. That's one of the weird things about sort of rating art from previous time periods is kind of getting into the mold of what art looked like then.
Yeah, I like some more than others.
Of course. So, what are you giving it?
I'm gonna give this I'll give it a 7. It's solid.
I'll go with 7.5, I think. I think it's a fine issue. Obviously, it's long-winded. There's a little bit of repetition here or there, but ultimately, it's pretty well-intentioned, and it holds together quite well for what it's doing. So, that's the Flash 50th Anniversary Special, which will take us on to Black Canary, Oracle, Birds of Prey, Issue 1. This is a one-shot. Now, admittedly, when I looked these issues up, this wasn't the first one that came out. The trade has them swapped for some reason, so we're just going to do it in the trade order, which is why we're doing this one first. Because the other issue that we'll be doing next week, or next episode, is Showcase 96 issue 3, I think it is. But this is an oversized issue. This is about 60 pages. And it's very much, and I think maybe the reason why this is first is this is very much the first time they work together, so I guess it's more of a story reason why this is first.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Whereas I presume the other one had them working together already, and this was kind of like, we're going to go back and explain how they started doing this kind of thing. So this is, there's no Huntress. Like, I think when many of us think of the classic Birds of Prey, we think of the trio, right?
Yeah.
But we don't start off with a trio. We start off with just Oracle and Black Canary.
And then what you can do is you can throw Harley Quinn in there.
You piss off, you ginger shite. I will not have none of that garbage.
It's going to be a great movie.
Shut up. So this story is about a kind of environmental... Well, not environmental. The villains are pretending to be environmental. So we got this guy who goes to like third world countries and builds like water treatment facilities, factories, things that can help the people there create jobs, try to build up civilization, that kind of thing. But these eco-terrorists keep blowing up everything he's doing under the guise.
How dare they?
Under the guise that something isn't, it's just bad for the environment. And Oracle enlists the help of Black Canary to go in and investigate this, partially because she needs something to do. She's kind of in a bit of a weird place in her life. Chloe breaking up with Oliver, presumably not too long before this, has left her in a bit of a slump.
Yeah, she's not doing too great.
We introduce her. Notable, by the way, so this is Chuck Dixon writing with Gary Frank on art. Just pointing that out. Early Gary Frank, which does look very different from modern day Gary Frank.
But still very good.
Still good. Still very much in keeping. Because he also did the mid-90s Supergirl stuff with Peter David, which is definitely a run we'll do at some point. So, yeah, Gary Frank was doing a lot of comics. I can definitely see how he was able to do this monthly, though, versus what he does today, which is a lot more detailed.
Yeah, definitely. I say, it's weird to think of Gary Frank as a monthly artist, isn't it? It's been so long.
But there was a time. So a couple of guys try to steal her car, and she's
having none of it.
Yeah, we get a few pages of her just beating the shit out of them and dropping one-liners and being all fancy. This is a Black Canary that takes off her wig to reveal the brunette hair. Although that doesn't last very long because she dyes her hair blonde after this. But she gets the call from Oracle to go to the airport, and she goes to Gotham because this guy. Nick Devine is making a speech there, and she's there to he's a bit of a ladies' man, which is why Canary's is good for this because she's got the attitude and the looks to kind of sort of lure him in. I did like the first time we actually see Babs, she's got like a little Batgirl doll.
Yeah, I saw that. That was nice.
That was a neat touch. So she calls her dad as well, calls Gordon, and he's like, oh, you got a date, is that why we can't have dinner? And she's like, nope, something else, more of an appointment. So Babs has clearly got money because she's got Dinah a car, as well as the air ticket, the plane ticket as well, of course.
I'm pretty sure is an Aston Martin as well, so not a cheap car. It's a rental, sure, but still.
Oh yeah. So she gets briefed on everything. She dyes her hair. She gets her, Oracle's got her new outfit.
She is just like strolling around in her outfit as well. Like even before this, when she's on the plane, she's just.
Yeah, it's almost something you could critique, but it kind of goes with her attitude of she doesn't really seem to care about anything right now. She's just kind of whatever. So she gets like an outfit that's not just the skimpy fishnets and whatnot. Something a bit more tactical looking. So she goes and meets this Divine. She's in a fancy dress, kind of convinces him to let her into like her secret meeting. But they get attacked by the eco-terrorists, and we meet Lynx, who immediately recognises that it's Dinah. It says, this is Black Canary.
And he's like, oh, is it? Well, good job she's here, isn't it?
Yeah, he's like, hey, I'm going to hire you to come protect me, because if both of you are watching my back, then no one will get to me, right? So that's what happens. There's a whole action sequence here where they're fighting the eco guys, for the record. And she sees a tattoo. I specifically liked how when they go outside and they're dangling out the window, it goes to like silhouette against the dark blue sky. I like that. Good stuff.
Some really nice looking panels here.
So that sets up what they're going to do. They're going to this other country, and she's going to go with them. I did like how every time it cuts to like her talking to Babs, like Babs will be doing something differently. So she's swimming at one point.
Yeah, it's always just something.
Yeah, she's up to something else. So I actually, one of my favorite things about this issue is kind of Bab's commentary because she sets up Oracle with like an earpiece and like a microphone kind of that's in her throat, sort of high tech shit. And every time like Divine says something really like sleazy to Dinah, you just like you hear the commentary from Babs going pig or what sleazeball or something.
Yeah. She's often really sarcastic as well.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So of course, I mean there is a little bit of the TNA stuff in here. There's like when when Dinah's suiting up for the first time in her new outfit, there's like a close up of her like zipping up the top right at her cleavage.
Yeah.
Like, so there's a little bit of the the slimy kind of.
It's weird
sex
though
appeal.
because at the same time, the outfit is technically significantly less revealing than it was. So this is still a step forward.
It's a step forward, but it's kind of having your cake and eating it too. It's like, okay, we're going to give her a more like a less sexualized outfit, but we're going to have a shot of her putting it on so we can still have the sexy moment.
Yeah. I'm assuming they won't do that every issue though. So it's just like first time because hey, before we reveal it,
they'll find a reason to have her do something skimpy. It'll happen.
Probably.
So they get to this country, which it may be a made up country. I didn't recognize the name of it.
The one that I know because I think it's made up because and this capital city is named after this guy.
Yeah. So they're getting the tour. We see kind of the poverty that's in the kind of the city, away from the leader, of course, who's obviously rich and has everything he wants. But also, I love that Babs is just throwing stars at a photo of the Joker when she's talking to Dinah at one point. As I'm going through it, I'm remembering all these little moments of like Babs just doing things when she's talking to Dinah.
Yeah.
And how funny some of them are. So she goes investigating the local dam, and she finds eco-terrorists, these eco guys, planting a bomb. And she fights them off. Link shows up to fight Dinah, and basically the reveal here. And there's a lot of good pages of action here. I don't want to like gloss over it too much, but there's a lot of nice pages of like kicking and punching and swooping.
Some
and
gorgeous coloring with the purple and blue night sky.
Yeah, absolutely good stuff. So basically, it's revealed that this guy Divine actually is with these terrorists, and he basically cheaps out on the production of all this stuff, and then the terrorists actually cover up the fact that everything's not up to code. Like, he's pocketing so much of the money that's supposed to be spent on all this stuff that he's raising, and then the cover up. So because it gets blown up, no one ever knows that it wasn't proper. It wasn't up to code. And that's what basically we have to deal with here. But there's a great moment here where Dinah is like out for the count, and Babs is kind of giving her a speech. There's a great moment where Babs is sort of saying, "Hey, you remember Batgirl?" And she's like, "What does that have to do with me?" And she's like, "This is everything to do." So you get the impression here that Dinah didn't know that Oracle used to be Batgirl. I don't think she did.
No, I don't think so either. And this is very much her admitting that she's kind of using Dinah to at least kind of get something out of this.
Yeah, but there's that great moment where she's telling her this, and there's just like a silhouette of Batgirl behind her head. I really nice. I like that a lot. But it's the speech for Dinah to like get back on her feet and fight back. So it's a really good moment, all things considered. Unfortunately, the dam still goes. For a great panel of it happening with the full moon,
and then running off in the opposite direction. Yeah,
really, really good page. And Babs has a nightmare about the Joker. It's a whole thing, and wakes up. And I wasn't expecting this issue to get as dark as it does, because when Dinah goes down to the village, there's straight up a panel of her finding a malnutrition child in the water, dead, like drowned.
Yeah,
like. It almost makes me wonder, like, how much this was in the news at the time in the 90s. Like, was this really topical at this particular moment? This is why they wanted to go this far with it and to really use it.
I suspect it was.
But really good stuff. Also, are you drifting up the camera? Like, your eye line's like right at the top of the frame now. I've not been paying attention, but
no, I mean, lift up a touch.
There you go.
I don't think so.
So yeah, it's super dark. Which gives us a reason for Dinah to really want to beat the shit out of this guy and even kill him, perhaps. And Babs has to talk her out of killing him, but ultimately comes in, beats the shit out of her. There's a really funny moment actually where Lynx goes to fight, and Lynx is kind of a knockoff, like, I don't know, Shiva, basically. She's like a C-tier Shiva. Lynx goes to fight her, and we just get a bunch of sound effects as we see Divine's reaction, and we just see Shiva, or sorry, that's my fault, that's my own fault. We just see Lynx slide down the table, not unconscious, towards him at the bottom of the panel. I really like that. She gets beat up off panel and then just slides in. It's like, it plays like a nice comedy beat, almost.
It does, it's really effective.
And she sort of breaks Divine's hand and is like, you're coming in. And because she's tracked him down, because they're not in the same country, she had to track him down, I think in England, and they call Scotland Yard to come and pick him up. So Scotland Yard comes in, and it ends with them saying, "Hey, maybe we can go do more stuff together. We can, take down more bad guys." As she rides down in a Corvette or whatever it is. So
Yeah, just like, hey, how about a Caribbean vacation? Whereabouts? Santa Prisca.
That's really good. I really like this issue. I
Me
think
too.
the banter was really good. Chuck Dixon wrote a lot of good comics in the 90s when it came to the Bat Family, and this is it's just tangentially Bat Family. Babs is there.
I feel like the more it goes on, the more we kind of associate it with the Bat Family over time.
Yeah, because again, Huntress is kind of associated with the Bat Family, even though she's not technically a bat. Like there's a lot of connections like that.
But, it's because there's a different version of Huntress, which is very associated with the Bat.
Yeah, but the one that's in continuity typically isn't.
Yes, yeah, but it's just weird that just because of that, the legacy of the mantle is kind of associated with the Bat Family now.
Yeah, so there you go. What are you giving it?
This is a great issue. I'm giving this an 8.5.
Yeah, I'm good. I'll give it a 9. I really liked it. It's just, I think more than anything, and it helps that this, even though I don't know if the main run was like guaranteed when they wrote this, it does feel like the start of Dixon's book proper.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So, I'm into it. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for me. Good stuff. So I'll take us on to JSA Secret Files and Origins issue 1. James Robinson and David Goyer writing. So we said this is a Jeff Johns slot. Johns doesn't actually start writing it for a few issues, right?
It's like issue 6 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
It's basically after the first arc, but everything that happens in this first arc is relevant and important, so we have to go through that arc too. So Scott Benefiel is the artist, if I'm saying that right. So this issue, of course, does drop you in the deep end a little bit because there is definitely some characters that you might not know. Unless you know DC history, and I'm not going to claim that I knew all these characters the first time I read this. Wesley Dodds, the original Sandman, is basically going to die. He knows he's dying tonight. He's going to join his wife, and he calls in Speed Saunders to say, "Hey, this is happening. There's going to be a new Dr. Fate child, basically. You have to tell the GSA this, and especially tell Sandy Hawkins, the new Sand." He needs to know this, and there's a whole idea of him passing on the mantle and how he's going to have his dreams.
He's going to inherit the dreams.
Yes, which is how we end the issue, is with Sandy waking up from essentially a nightmare based on this.
Except we know it's not just a nightmare.
Yeah, we don't actually get to see it though, because I remember that the next issue starts with what the nightmare is. We get to see it next, in issue 1 of the actual main series. But we have. This villain pops up, demanding to know where the child is. What's this villain again?
The Grey Man?
No, not the Grey Man. The big villain.
Oh, the big villain. I can't remember.
Did they say his name in this?
I don't know if they do.
Maybe they don't.
we definitely learn it later, I'm sure.
Yeah, we definitely do.
No, I don't remember his name. It's a bit of a mystery here, though, I suppose.
I guess, yeah. I feel like I should know it, but maybe that's just because I know it from later and I've forgotten it, and not because I'm supposed to know it from this issue.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not sure we are supposed to know it yet.
That's fair. Okay, that's fine. Anyway, so Wesley Dodds goes over the cliff, and he dies, and the rest of the issue is basically what's left of the GSA, which right now is Wildcat, Jay Garrick, Alan Scott, who are your Flash and Green Lantern, although Green Lantern's going by Sentinel at this point in time, and Hippolyta, Wonder Woman of the GSA era, but she doesn't go by that name anymore because now Diana's using Wonder Woman. So again, in this continuity, Hippolyta was Wonder Woman during GSA time.
Yes.
So yes, so basically it's going around. We're introduced to some of the new characters. We're introduced to Stargirl, although notably not called Stargirl yet, just a Star Spangled Kid. She's not changed the name yet. And we hear her mention. So this is interesting that John's created this character, but the character is here before he's on the book, which I think is interesting.
It is, isn't it? It's like I don't know if she was in some of the issues somewhere first.
Yeah, that he wrote. Yeah,
or if it was more just he created her and was like, "Hey guys," maybe he knew he was coming onto the book, and he's like, "Can you use this for me?"
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's introduced that thingy, Starman, Jack Knight's dad, is making her a belt. There's so many names in this issue, goddammit.
There is.
And,
I wasn't sure which one you were reaching for there.
But this is the thing, there's so many names, but they're all names that I don't necessarily hear outside of JSA that much, and it's been a while, so I'm like...
Yeah.
But yeah, and she mentions her stepfather, Pat Dugan, and whatnot, so it's setting up some of that stuff. We get more of that later. But Alan Scott shows up to basically tell everyone about the death, and that there's going to be a funeral. And Starman's going to have to go. Jay Garrick goes to meet Our Man, who's the robotic version of Our Man, and kind of gives him a bit of a pep talk about how he's maybe starting to be more human than he realizes, because human beings like spend their whole life trying to figure out what it means to be human, and the fact that you're already questioning these things means you're on a good track, and it makes him smile. So it's a nice introduction to this Our Man. Again, not necessarily in terms of what his powers are, what he can do, but just to make us like him a little bit.
I really like the way that this introduces a lot of the newer characters
with one of the old characters.
Really well established, like Alan Scott, Jay Garrett. These are really well established classic characters, and it's really nice to see that being the link in, so that you have something to care about when they come in. Yeah,
so that's a nice little thing. We have the new Atom Smasher, Al Rothstein, I want to say. Yeah. Because the old one's Al Pratt, and I was just trying to get the surname right. So yeah, he's like, you know what? I avoided my legacy. I went by different names when I should have been embracing, where I come from and who I am. So he becomes Atom Smasher. And
because he was Nuklon before.
Yes, and had a mohawk and stuff. And he even talks about how he's embarrassed that he ever wore that. He ever had that outfit and that name. Why did I think this was cool? Wildcat comes up to talk to him and tell him through his window, and he's like, however many stories up, so that's quite notable.
He's like, how did you get up here? He's like, cat by name, cat by nature.
Yeah. So he's there to tell him about... We don't actually get to see him tell him, but it just ends with him saying, I've got some bad news, basically, and it cuts away. Yeah. We're introduced to Black Canary. We get Black Canary in 2 books on this show, so a lot of Dinah talk coming up. Okay, nothing to add to that? Okay.
Sorry, my thing froze.
All right. Fair enough. Funny 2-page spread with Dinah. She's like fighting some bad guy, and notably, this is after, just in terms of the timeline, this is after the issue of Birds of Prey we read. So she has a costume that's very similar to her Birds of Prey outfit that we just got, although she's got like a jacket on now too, but it's a very similar outfit.
It's basically the same thing, yeah.
Her hair's longer. Basically, she's having this big fight over this 2-page spread, but as she's fighting, all she's actually doing in her narration is thinking about what groceries she needs, so she's like doing a shopping list as she fights someone.
Yeah. I have to say, I really dislike the layout of this page.
Okay.
In terms of the fact that, so that first column of dialogue, or not dialogue, but narration, you read downwards, but the art's going across left to right in terms of the flow of the fight. So I feel like I'm sat there, I read all of this narration and then go back to the fight. I don't feel like I'm getting it organically as the fight goes on.
What's weird for me is that I feel like when I look at a page like this, I just see the fight visually, because I noticed the visuals before I read the text, right? So I see the fight, and to me this is just like an example, because the whole point is it's just like a sort of generic fight that's happening. So the order of it doesn't matter that much. So I just see the whole fight and then read the text, and for me it works because I'm not worried about any particular part of the text, fitting with. It doesn't have to.
I'm not saying it needs to line up exactly. Like with this has to line up with this beat of the fight. No. But just the fight is separated into boxes of this, and it goes up and across, and then back down, and it has this flow of this is the way the fight is taking place. And the narration is in a complete opposite direction, and it feels really counterintuitive to how I should read it.
Yeah, Hippolyta shows up, saves her from a sniper, and then is like, hey, so a friend of mining your mother's has died. So again, that legacy coming in there, that, we're mentioning Dinah Drake. And if you're only used to the TV show Arrow, Dinah Drake is not some random other person. She is Dinah Lancey's mother.
If you're only used to the TV show, then I pity you.
And then we're interested in the new hot girl, Kendra Saunders, who for the first time is putting on the outfit and the wings of Shiera Hall, or Shiera Saunders, sorry, I think she says. Yeah.
Probably.
Sanders. Yeah, she's Saunders and Shiera was Sanders. there's too much Hawk continuity to keep track of all these variations of names.
It's Hawks. Who cares?
Yeah. But she puts the outfit on, and we get. I actually really like the art here when she like goes off the edge of the cliff, and it's like she's falling and she's going to die, and then we get the full page spread of her like swooping up.
But we talked about some of the cheesecake stuff in the Birds of Prey issue. This is way worse.
Yeah, we've got a lot under boob. She's bending over to put on her outfit.
And she's pulling the top up first.
And it's basically just shadows hiding the nipples, essentially, at this point. So yeah, bit of cheesecake. It's a problematic thing that comic books have had for a long time. It's only just recently that people have really started to call it out. Well, at least enough that I've noticed it. I mean, I'm sure there's always been some people who have said this is bullshit. Why are we always doing this? But
I'm sure, yeah.
And the final page is the phone ringing at Sandy Hawkins' place as he's clearly having a nightmare, and there's a tear coming down his eye. And we actually, a nice little touch here is that it repeats the dialogue that Dodds had at the start of the issue talking about Sandy, and just sort of has it playing over this, and it's a nice touch. Like sometimes I get annoyed if I have to reread the same text in the same book again. I think here it actually has enough weight and impact in this moment to make it really work.
I agree, because I think it's not too much dialogue that it feels like a slog, and I think it gives it this nice bookend, and it's that final line where it's like, tell him I'm sorry as he wakes up. And he's crying. It's like, okay, that works really well.
And it's the important beats as well. It says, it's not my nephew, it's Deanne's. We actually never did marry, but he's always been like a son to me. It's just the important emotional beats again as we see him, waking up with tears in his eyes. And that's the end of the issue. So it's worth mentioning that the actual single issue of this did have more pages with because it's a secret issue, origins and files, so it had like profiles and stuff at the back. There's actually 15 pages, but the actual main story is about the length of a regular issue, and that's what's in the trade. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if all those extra profile pages are at the back of the trade. It seems like
they probably are, aren't they?
Yeah, they probably are. That feels like
but I can't be bothered to skip all the way to the back to find out.
Nah. If Comixology had put in a page number to jump to the end,
shouldn't it?
I would do it, but you have to scroll through the scroll wheel to get to the last pages, and there's like 400 pages, so I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a really strong first issue of this run, and it's not even John's yet.
No, but it's really smart in like we say, okay, so we start with Dodds, and then we move into the JSA. Who's left of them anyway, and it was all these characters that we know. It is these strong legacy characters.
Yeah, and
then we introduce everyone else through them. Yeah,
not everyone sticks around, but it does a good job of using the legacy characters to introduce the new ones, like you say. So they're always in these pairs. And what it does as well is it introduces the core characters. It introduces Wildcat and Hippolyta and the Flash and Green Lantern, and then has them go. So there's like a through line where you meet them, and then one by one we're introduced to the new characters with each one of them that we've already been. So even if this is your first ever book reading some of these characters, and for most people it probably will be, because I mean, how many people who read go to read Johnsy's JSA have read any actual JSA or Earth 2 Justice League from years ago?
A pretty small number, I would imagine.
Probably not. So really good in that sense. Really good. And the art for the most part is pretty solid too. A lot of good colouring, especially, I thought.
Yeah, it's really solid. Outside of those panels at the end that we were just talking about, there's not really much to complain about in it.
Yeah. So what are you giving it?
I'm going to give this a solid 8.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. Solid 8 out of 10 for me. We're not going to rank the books at the end of the episodes like we do with the main show. It's probably quite obvious given our numbers, but I do think it's worth just picking our favourite of the week and just saying, hey, this was the favourite one we read this week, favourite issue. For my ratings, it's really obvious that it's Birds of Prey. It's Black Canary / Oracle Birds of Prey issue 1 to give it the full title.
From memory, I gave both that and Wonder Woman the same rating.
Yes,
with an 8.5. I'm actually going to edge it to Wonder Woman. I don't know. It intrigued me.
Okay, there you go. So there you go. So there's not much of yeah, it's just too much work to get the covers of all these if I've been reading them in the trade.
Yeah, I'm not doing it.
To look at the covers. So we're not going to do that. Not going to do that. Maybe we'll add on like favorite moment or something as we go forward, or whatever. But I'll just remind everyone again that there's going to be a vote on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV where you can support us for as little as $1 per month, by the way, if you want to support the show and keep all the content we do coming. But the $5 tier, you get this podcast a day early, but you also get access to the votes when they happen, and there'll be one every once in a while. The first one will be going up soon after this goes up, and it'll be 4 Superman books that we mentioned earlier, and the winner will be the 6th book that we cover in this show for the next little while. So look forward to that. So yeah, but otherwise though, of course, like, subscribe, let us know what you think of the new show in the comments, ding the bell on YouTube for notifications. You can support us in other ways that are free by doing those things, but also rating the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars, more people will find us that way. Share the shows on Twitter or Facebook or social media, wherever you happen to hang out and lurch. Where do you lurch? Wherever you lurch, promote the show. Lurk? Yeah, I mean lurk. What's lurch? Lurch
is like a movement, isn't it? It's like a janky jump, kind of. You lurch across.
I was thinking of the butler from, is it Addams Family? Is lurch?
Could be right.
But it's close to lurch. I meant lurk. That's clearly what I meant. I meant lurk. Sometimes I have brain farts and I say wrong words. But the lurk, yes. Wherever you lurk, promote the show. Yes, obviously, if this is the first thing you've ever seen from us, the main show, Comics from the Multiverse, is the two of us plus Matt talking about the new DC comics every week, so you can check out that. And remember that Elsewhere in the Multiverse will alternate with this show once it starts. It might not be next week. I'll see what I can do. I'll try really hard to make sure we can do something for Elsewhere next week, and we can have an episode. But this will be every 2 weeks for this particular show, so hopefully you enjoyed it and look forward and want to try and keep. A couple of people did ask, they said they wanted to keep up with the books and read the ones we're reading so they can follow along, which is really cool, and hopefully that can be something fun. And by all means, on Twitter at DC Comics Podcast, which is a Twitter which I've not mentioned yet, or on the comments on YouTube, please do tell us what you think of the books and your thoughts and whatnot going forward. So no bad issues this week, I'm happy to say.
No, hopefully we should avoid a lot of that because we've kind of cherry-picked some of the runs.
I feel like it'll always be from Batman because Batman's a bit more just including everything. So there's going to be bad issues of the Batman books that we're going to hit.
There absolutely is. And then we might have the odd bad issue here or there in other things because, even runs that you love have issues that are just
have a dip here or there, yeah. But like we're probably in good hands with the rest of the runs because it's all just the same creative teams or at least the same writer.
Yeah. This is down to us kind of having chosen these things that we want to work through, as opposed to just 5 random things.
So hopefully that was fun. Let us know what you think. Get us on Twitter, like I say, at DC Comics Podcast. Get us on the Patreon. In fact, I thank the Patreon producers. I've not done that yet. I usually do that before I plug it, but I was kind of naturally leaning in there with the talking about the vote. So thanks to our Patreon producers for the month: David Short, Alison M. Fordyce, Cindy Palacios, and Tyler Hess. That means they are $20 or up on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for giving our new show a chance, and we'll see you next time. Do I need a different outro for this versus the regular show?
I think you do. Because Elsewhere is going to have its own outro, right?
Yes. Do I remember my outro from Elsewhere to do it? I can always just go back and listen to it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could just check.
Oh, I remember. It was something to do with assembly being required.
Oh, God, it was that shite, wasn't it? Oh, terrible outro. One of your worst. I'm just saying, new fresh reboot, number 1. We can have a new outro line.
You want a new outro line on Elsewhere? I'll see what I can do. I might just bring that one back to annoy you, though.
You really forgot to think of one for this, didn't you?
Well, it never occurred to me I need a new one, because I thought I could just use the same one again. There's no reason why not.
Because that's cheating.
Alright, keep reading comics, guys.